Hello, got another Blender follow along video for us today, but this one we're going to do things a little bit different. We're not going to focus so much on modeling. Instead, I want to do sort of all the other stuff to make a nice looking rendered image. So I want to do a very simple model, but then set up the lighting with an Hdri and set up the render settings and make sure our graphics cards are configured correctly and sort of do all those like other steps that are very easy to forget. I think there's going to be a little follow along video for that. So my idea comes from, it comes from this person who put hot dog in resin. And, you know, it's just a weird visual thing that in real life doesn't look like it should exist. It looks like a 3D model. It's like, it looks like someone took photos of a hot dog and put it on a cube. So that's weird. So anyway, that was like one thing that's like been on my mind. The other is this video, is this Bad Normals did like a rendering challenge for people to like make little renders. And they did this sort of default cube challenge where they took the same animation path of a camera and sort of the same cube location, and everyone got to make their own fun things and submit them as like a competition. And this one kind of stuck out to me, this like terrarium. So sort of combining these two ideas, I'm thinking of trying to like put some plants or something inside of resin and light it to look really good, or maybe not that good. Yeah, that's the challenge. So a lot of really cool, inspiring things, these render challenges that Punisher and Bad Normals and some others have been doing. Lots of amazing artists sort of contributing really amazing work. Definitely worth checking these videos out to get inspired. Let's start with a brand new project. Let's make a little folder for our project. I've got mine in my dailies folder, where when I'm working on a thing that I'm going to spend less than a day on, you know, I already got some reference image in here. So let's just make a new, this is a new project. Let's save it into there. We'll call it resin plant. All right. Cool. So let's get started. Let's get that plant in here. So this potted plant is from Polyhaven, part of their model collection. We'll be coming back to them for some things, but we go down to the nature section. Lots of interesting things to use. Maybe a tree would be cool, but I don't know, keeping the scale small feels good. So it also was originally a Blender file, so let's download that. Meanwhile, we're also going to think of the Hdri that we want to use. Maybe we'll download that while we're at it. Let's go to HDRIs. What is an HDRI? An HDRI is a 360 image that has a larger bit depth, where you know the difference between the darkest black and the largest white. That's where HDR comes from, high dynamic range. But it's so much range in that image that we can actually use it to determine the intensity of lights. So in an image like this window, you know, they're not just white like they would be on my computer screen. They're like the value encoded is letting us know how bright it is. So if I set up basically a light at every pixel around me, and then as a point light, you know, shooting in, and I use these colors for brightness, that would be a really realistic and very nice looking way to do lighting. And that's more or less how HDRIs work. HDR stands for high dynamic range. We have enough data encoded sort of in the bright brights and the dark darks that we can actually drive lighting with it. And Polyhaven sort of came to be like the best place to get good free HDRIs. So let's do like an outdoor one. Let's go. I've already got a bunch downloaded, but I don't know. This looks too perfect. Let's use it. So we'll download the EXR, and we will put that either with our project, or what I recommend you do is have so I got my Blender Dailies folder. You also might want an assets HDRIs folder, right? Where you can save some you don't have to keep re-downloading these things. Where did I put that? That's already there. Okay. Cool. What's it called? Spike Engine Hill. So let's set up the cube material. Then we're going to work on the plant, and then we're going to work on the HDRI. I don't know. Well, the order doesn't matter. We sort of have these three different things to do. So what did I just do? G, Z, up, hold down Control so I can snap it to a grid, and moved it up. All I did, you could just go in here and set that to 1. All I did was like, this is a 2x2 unit cube. I moved it up a meter, so it's on the ground. And then I guess we'll make a ground. Okay, let's work on our materials. For the ground, we'll make a material called ground, and I think that that's fine. For the cube, we'll make a new material. We have to make a new material. Oh, it's got material assigned to it. We'll just rename that to glass. And that's all we're going to do for now. Let's make sure my face isn't blocking this. Transparency is what we want to do. We want to slide transparency up. Nothing happens. And if we go into render view mode, nothing happens. So in order to really make this look good, we want to switch our rendering engine to cycles. So it's very top, this top render properties box. We've got Eevee, which is our default PBR rendering engine. We want to switch it down to cycles, which is a ray tracing rendering engine. So now your computer's going to get slow and crash. But don't worry. All we have to do to fix that is go from CPU down to GPU. And if we do that, your graphics card will actually do the processing on the work, right? I kind of like opening Task Manager and just like having like a sanity check that like my GPU is being used. There's a 3090 in this computer. It's a very powerful graphics card. I want it to be used. I don't want the CPU to do all this heavy lifting. Okay, we're getting closer. That glass material, not quite done. We got to go up on transmission. So I selected the cube, went down to this red material properties. I went up on transmission, not all the way, but up, and then down on roughness. You know, maybe not. Maybe resin's a little bit rougher. Down on roughness. All right. That's already, we can see how this is like, I don't know, glass is like such a cheat. It's such a hack. Just good looking renders. All right, where is my plant? There it is. And then where is my today is this day. Let's bring over the plant. I probably should have put that in like a subfolder, huh? All right. This is a Blender file. Let's open it and see what we got. If I can use this as is without having to remake the materials, that would be good. Maybe that wouldn't be great. We should like learn how to do the this part. But the answer is we're going to enable the node wrangler icons. Let's learn how to like bring this into another project, because I just want to use this as is. It exists. It's right here. That seems great. It's not an FBX. I could import it, set the materials up, but let's just use this as is. So we have this collection called Potted Plant 2, and it's got the leaves, dirt, and the pot, and all the materials are set up. So let's, well, I guess I don't want to save that. We'll just minimize that. Let's go to our project, save. And we have these two options here, link and append. We're going to try appending, which is going to copy into our project from another Blender file. And then linking would bring in from another project, but it would leave all the data in the original. So then somebody could like edit like a character rig on a movie in one file, and then the animators would work in another file, and the scene might work in another file. You sort of bring all these things together. We're going to append. We're going to grab our potted plant. It's going to open it up as if it's a folder. Now, we might want to look in meshes, but we'll see we have like multiple meshes that were like from what it was modeled. Really, we want to go into objects. Ooh, multiple objects. Which one? All of them? Collections. That's why we sort of investigated the model we had before opening this up. And then now that I have finished investigating, I'm able to append it, and it comes right in. So let's hide my cube and take a look. Looking pretty good. Looking like a plant. So let's leave the cube as is. Let's take the plant collection. And I wanna scale up this plant. I could like select all of these things and scale them up, but let's make life a little bit, hide this cube, a little bit easier for ourselves. Let's make a new empty right down here. So I'm gonna make a new empty, and then we can choose like a little shape, plane axis, whatever. And then we're going to select, hold down shift, and we're gonna select all of these different objects. And I want to select it in a way that this lighter orange, these dark orange and light orange, I want the lighter orange to be the empty. So if I click around and I start selecting, I'll notice that the first thing I click on is what's going to be that lighter orange color. So now I'm going to grab it so that's the color. We call that the difference between selected objects and the active selection. There's only ever one active selection, but you can have multiple objects selected. So you sort of have these different ways of being selected. I'm going to move my mouse so I'm hovering over the scene view, and then use the parenting action, parent, and that is Shift P. Sorry, Control P. I was looking right at it and I said the wrong thing. Control P. So I'm going to set the parent of all the selected objects to the active selection. So the dark orange is going to be parented to the light orange. Set parent to object. That's fine. And then let's go ahead and rename F2, rename to plant. Now I have this one object I can move and scale, and all of its children will move with it. So let's take plant, let's unhide our cube, and let's scale that up. Already this is looking pretty fun. I like resin plant. I think that's a fun idea. These edges are very sharp. I kind of want to bevel the cube a little bit. We'll see, we'll see. Okay, now that we have this, let's set up the lighting. So one, we're going to delete the light that exists. We're going to take this light and delete it. And I do want to be in render mode. There's really not much environmental light going on, but it's not totally black. There's still some environmental light. And if I go down to this this orange world shading setting, I can see where that's coming from. It's coming from a very dark gray, and if we went to black, it would go to black. But I don't want this color to be driven by a color that I choose. I want this color to be driven by my Hdri, which I've already downloaded and I've saved somewhere. So I'm going to click on this little yellow dot. I'm in the red world shading, world properties. I'm going to click on this yellow dot, and I'm going to choose an environment texture. And then now there's missing texture, and our world is pink. Beautiful. Let's select open, and let's go find our thing. What did I choose? I chose, I already forgot. I told myself to remember. It was this one, the hill. Whoa, look at that. Look how good that looks. So we have shadows coming from the sun direction, because in the HDRI, it's like this area is very bright. It's even going to cast shadows, right? Even though it's just being lit by the image. I think HDRIs are a wonderful, quick, easy to set up way to get really nice, closer to photo real lighting. Okay, this ground material is going to need some work. So let's play with its settings. Let's darken it. And maybe it should be shiny. Maybe it should be like a metal, like it's on a metal table. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna delete this plane. And we're gonna make it a cube. And let's scale that out and like a pillar, like at an art museum. So I'm gonna scale Shift Z to scale on the sort of X and Y axes. So S, Shift Z, and then 2, 3, nope, not 23. I can look up at the top to see where my, I'm pointing with my finger. I can look up over here to see what number is being entered. Backspace, 3, that looks good. Let's go SZ now, and let's scale that up by, whoops, I don't know, 10, whatever. And then now GZ, negative 10. No way, that just worked perfectly. Okay, so now we got our cube, we need our material. I should have made the other one. Let's call this metal. And let's set it to a dark color. And let's increase its metallicness. Maybe lower the roughness. Where are you? Roughness. I want that sheen. I want that like reflection here. Maybe less dark. A little bit brighter. Yeah, I'm just like fiddling. I don't know what I want. That looks cool. I love having that reflection in there. This ray tracing is giving me those really nice shadows and reflections. Okay, is your computer caught on fire yet? Okay, let's try beveling this cube. Bevel the cube. Okay, we can do that very easily with we can go into edit mode. We can just hit Control B and we can, and we can bevel. But we can do that another way. We're not modeling in this one. We're not modeling. Instead, we're going to add a bevel modifier. So I'm going to go to the gear icon for my modifiers. I'm going to add a modifier. I'm going to choose bevel. And here I'm going to need more than Made a few more segments, and you can see it's getting that curved edge. And I want to make it much. Oh yeah, maybe I don't need so many segments if I do it that small. Look at that. Look how nice that looks. Just that little corner. Oh, it's kind of stretched out. Okay, let's fix that. Let's not apply the bevel. Let's go to my object. So the reason it's stretched out is because if I go into edit mode, well, it'll still be in edit mode, but if I look at my scale of my object, where are you, Orange? It's still all wonked out. So I want to apply the bevel, but I want to apply the bevel as if this is the correct scale and not stretched, because it'll be stretched. So right click, we want to apply, where am I? Object, apply, Control A, I guess is the shortcut. I want to apply that scale. So now it scales 1 to 1, 1. Everything is, and it's just, this is the size of the length of those edges. So we sort of like, we moved all that scaling into like the actual geometry and not in the object being distorted and stretched. And now that we've done that, we can apply our bevel. And I want that to be really small bevel. And I want that to be a bit more detail. All right, nice. Let's see what happens if we do it to a resin. The sharp edge is kind of a good look, but let's try adding a bevel to the resin. Actually, wait, we weren't done. Right click, shade smooth. Right, shade flat is giving us these little sharp edges. So shade smooth, smooth that out. Great. All right, let's go to our cube. Let's do the same thing. Add a bevel modifier, and it's just really small. I kind of like this look. You know, I kind of like this look. If you're feeling it, you may just go with that. Let's see what the original idea was. Super small bevel. Let's go like really, yeah, just so it's not a clean line. There's like a little bit of that glare, that glint. Maybe a little bit more than that. That's all I'm really looking for, was for the rendering engine to catch it as if it's not perfect. I like that. Okay, no, it's nothing. Once I zoom out, it's nothing. Let's try, let's like actually back up and try this. And then shade flat. I kind of like that. Let's try keeping that. Something like that. Okay, I think we're too rough. I think I want to go down on roughness. Or maybe up on transmission. Or transmission roughness. Ooh, that's the resin one I want. I want regular roughness to be down. And I want transmission roughness is what I was looking for. Look at this. That looks nice. Okay, so we got our renders. We play with our settings. We fiddle with it. We're ready to go. Let's take a look at our camera view. And hold down the tilde key, view camera, and we're not quite set up right. So let's just grab the camera. We could learn the shift tilde tool. We can, but then it's always a little bit wonky anyway. So let's just grab the camera and rotate it with some numbers. Z. Nope, not that one. X. There we go. That's the one. Down a bit. Maybe lower the camera. Maybe get more like side on. Oops. How's that looking? It's looking pretty good. Too high on the roughness, huh? Yeah. Okay. So I don't want to spend too much time fiddling in front of on the video. So let's go to our cube and let's go to its materials and let's turn that down. What is 0.62 divided by 2? Cut it in half. Divided by 2 again. And then sometimes the specular matters. Sometimes these other sheens matter. In this case, they don't seem to be having much of an effect. Okay, maybe we fiddle with the depth of field. Okay, yeah, select the camera. There's no reason to do this. Select the camera, go to the camera properties, the orange one, and then we have a depth of field checkbox that my head isn't blocking. And then we need to just grab our focus object. We want to make sure that is probably set to plant. which is going to be that empty that we made. So it's going to be right to that distance. And then, I do need to move this. And then we can lower our f-stop. This is now, from the world of photography, we learn all that we need to know about how this stuff works. I want a little bit of out of focus right up here. That's all I want. All I want. 1.2. I wish I owned a 1.2 lens. They're very expensive. Before, after. Before, after. This is doing nothing. Maybe if our lens had more reach, like an 85mm lens, and then the camera was further back. Oh, but I can't move it. And then the camera was further back on X and Z. So that's, where did my location X? Negative 6.2. Location Z is 3. Why wouldn't that be square? Wouldn't that be the same? What is that different? Well, let's just multiply that by 2. Oops, not the wrong one. That by times 2, and let's multiply this one. Ash of 2, and then let's see if that did it. We could eyeball it, but I think that might have done it. Z. I want its local rotation index. Yeah, I don't hate that. Okay. Okay, call that a day. I moved the camera back. I zoomed it in. I fiddled with getting it to look at the right direction. Let's call that a day. Okay, so our render settings. How do we get the render out of here? One, let's make sure we got GPU compute on. If that's grayed out for you, you need to go to your preferences, system, and you need to make sure we've got probably optics, I think is one of the fastest. It's faster than CUDA, or should be in most cases. And choose your graphics card. If you don't have optics, choose CUDA. But make sure we're choosing an actual like rendering engine. Make sure that your graphics card is checked. Great. And then we should see GPU compute. For our render settings, max samples 2040 or 1024 up here. In the viewport is what I'm looking at. 4096 down here in the actual finished render. Right, we still get that little graininess. We want to make sure we're high enough to avoid that. So we're going to turn on denoising. We'll use open image denoise. That way we can have a lower sample count, and it'll, after it's done rendering, it'll try to blur and smooth these dots together. But 4096 feels pretty high. Let's cut that in half. And let's lower our resolution as well. Resolution is in our scene settings, object property, output properties, 1920 by 1080. That's actually probably what I want. Output temp folder, no good. Don't like that. I want to actually save my output. So I'll just use the dailies folder and PNG, RGBA, 8-bit. All that seems fine. Render. To render, F12 on your keyboard. Blender render. Okay, well, let's say you forgot to change the file and it's in the temp folder, or you don't know what folder it went into. We can select this image, save as. So saving the image here in our render views is in our render window is going to be different than just saving it like normally saving it. That is too, it's not clear enough. It's not glass enough. I'm changing my mind on this render. But we'll call this one resin plant 1. I don't know. I like giving them numbers so I can, like, as I keep saving as, it's not like final, parentheses, final 2. And then I'm in the wrong file. Okay, here we go. What material did I want to change? I wanted to make this closer to glass. All the way up to 1? It's almost never the right answer. 0.996. Sure. All right. Save that as 2. Cool. All right, we're done. We made a cube render. We used an Hdri by setting up our scene world properties with a EXR image Texture EXR sort of being the file format that can handle that really wide high dynamic range, that really wide bit depth. We set up a glass material by increasing our transmission property of our material. We imported a asset by like doing it the super easy way, which is by linking it to an existing Blender file already and choosing the right settings. We didn't do material setup. I thought we'd do a little bit of material setup. I decided that that's not, no modeling. You can learn about that somewhere else. And we fiddled with render and output settings. I made sure in cycles where we have these nice glass and caustics and all the fun looking stuff that our render was going to be on GPU, that we weren't being silly with an incredible high sample count, especially if we have denoising on anyway. And we got our render. So hope that was fun.